We're Esther and John Brockman. We've been sitting in these seats since May 30th, 1970.
When we were told that NASCAR was coming, we were so, I sent them a check and just said, sell me some seats.
When they came around turn 4, right in front of us, it sends shivers down everybody's spine.
You just had goosebumps.
When we used to leave at night, it was sad because we realized there was no more race for another year.
That's home. We've made so many special friends that we'll have friends for life.
The reunions of friends made by returning to this track year after year, part of the tradition that surrounds the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Section 29, Row AA, seats 1 and 2. Right behind the yellow-shirted people, we suspect the Brockmans are probably back in the motorhome still watching themselves on TV. Probably so. But that's the view that they'll have of the 17th running of the Brickyard 400 today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Drivers being paraded around in front of those massive grandstands now. Denny Hamlin, one of the favorites of today, being shown to the fans. He's already a 5-time winner this season, a position not many expected him to be in after he tore his left ACL in a January basketball game. But that injury's helped the Virginia native discover things about himself he never knew he was capable of.
Anyone can be happy when you're on top, but when things go bad, how do you handle yourself and how do you pull through? I love going to basketball games, watching basketball games. I usually play at a fitness center right down the street from my house. I was handling the ball, trying to make an aggressive move. Unfortunately, my left leg couldn't take the pressure. My knee swelled up so big, it was literally softball size swelling right away. I contacted my doctor, told him, hey, I really need to get an MRI as soon as possible. He called me later on that afternoon and says, buddy, it's not good. I knew right away it was ACL. I talked to Mike when he asked me how it happened and whatnot, and I told him, he just said, if you're gonna be done, we gotta be tough.
There are a lot of people here that rely on the performance of those race cars and their families' livelihoods, and you know, it does affect all of us.
The best option we had is that I could manage to get by until November and then do the surgery.
When the projection came out that he was going to run the season and take care of it at the end of the year, I knew instantly that that was not going to work.
Right before Daytona, I had a couple buckling moments where I really just fell right to the ground because the knee was too weak to hold me. If I'm doing this within the first couple weeks of getting injured, how am I going to survive until November? We made the decision about a week before the Martinsville race. I had surgery planned for Monday morning following the race on Sunday afternoon. I had talked to the doctors about how am I going to feel. They said, you know, this is reconstructive. It's not going to be something that's easy. You see other sports people that do this, they are out for the season. All I kept thinking about is how does I get myself in this position?
Our goal was to get him back into the car for part of the race at Phoenix.
9 days out of surgery, and anyone that's had the surgery knows that 9 days out, usually you're still sitting in bed, but I was going to try to attempt to get in a race car. I knew right away that it was going to be extremely difficult for me to go the entire distance. The pain was extremely bad. I told my crew chief to get the other driver ready.
Denny Hamlin right off knee surgery, 21st. Casey Mears standing by.
Start the race, and then got off the horrible start. Went down 2 laps. Well, now, Denny knows that he's not going to win the race. It's a bad day. I got a knee surgery. So we kind of all figured out he's going to be saying, hey, get me out of here after the first caution.
Casey Mears sits still on top of the pit box. Hamlin is going to try to run the whole race.
Some people, men and women, they ain't giving up. They're going to lay it on the line. They're going to go after it as hard as they can go after it. And, you know, you're going to have to kill them to get them out of there. Denny, in this situation, made a real statement to everybody.
You get text messages from Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson saying, I kind of thought you were wimp before, but I think you're a tough son of a... That stuff right there will give you the fuel to keep going.
Denny Hamlin playing hurt here today at Texas Motor Speedway is the winner of the Samsung Mobile 500.
Read a lot of critics, and a lot of them say it's the wrong thing to do to stay in the car. But I knew in my head that it was the right thing to do. It's changed me quite a bit. I found myself, I guess you could say, as a driver, and found what I had left still in the tank when I really needed it. Having success, and especially under those terms, has given me the confidence to know that I'm championship caliber. I could win a championship. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I know I'm good enough to do it.
Well, Denny Hamlin, see his number 11 machine lined up 18th on the grid for today's race. Denny was a dominant driver on the short tracks of his native Virginia when he was hired to help Joe Gibbs Racing audition other drivers for a potential ride. He so impressed the team, they signed him up. Gibbs moved him to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in late 2005. He got his first pole in just his 6th start. He opened 2006 with a win in the Budweiser Shootout at Daytona. Scored his first win in a points race later that year. Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania was the site, the first of what are now 13 Sprint Cup victories. And as for this season, Hamlin has won 5 times in the last 14 races. What hurt? Hamlin's been hot. Brad, as a former professional athlete, can you relate to Denny being injured and learning something about himself?
Yeah, I really can. You know, back in the late 90s, I broke my back, and I realized as a professional athlete, you are a commodity, and you need to treat yourself as one. And I was one of those people very critical of Denny because I wasn't worried about the pain or any of those things. I was worried about the long-term effect. But he, just like another young man, Andrew Bynum, who plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, put his team before himself. And it led to championship statistics, a championship opportunity for the Lakers, and he's put himself and his team in a position that they could win a championship. So very, very impressed with what he's done for that organization.
Now, and one of the fun things about this job is you get to deal with people in a non-competitive environment. And when Denny was in here the other day, I realized he was genuine, he was sincere, he sold me. I really believe that this man has the dedication and will do the things it takes to win a championship on that team. I believe in him.
Let's talk about another guy we'll watch today, one of Denny's former teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing, Tony Stewart, winner of 2 of the last 5 of these Brickyard 400 races, driving for Gibbs at that time, but now driving for Stewart Haas Racing that he's one of the owners of. Started the season for that team, better lately. Again, if this is one of the places where the best running teams and drivers win, can Tony win today?
He can win today, Alan. There's no doubt about that. He started off with this brand new team last year pretty strong. Then it kind of fell off the pace just a little bit. But, you know, every time a driver has a little down area in his career, he can go to his favorite racetrack and pick it up. My favorite racetrack was Bristol, Tennessee. Every time I went there, I felt like I could win and get back on track. Tony has won here. I talked to him the other day. He feels really good about it. He said, Rusty, though, I can't carry this car. I've got to get this car handling better for me to win. But I think he can win here.
Well, we'll keep an eye on Tony Stewart from the 15th starting position today. Tony, Jimmy Johnson, and the other drivers anxious to get the pre-race festivities over and begin the 400-mile chase for the checkered flag. When we come back, Juan Pablo Montoya, the pole sitter for today's race, looking to make history for himself and his team owner, Chip Ganassi. That's next when NASCAR Countdown continues from Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where the 17th Brickyard 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series begins 28 minutes and change from now. Drivers again finishing up their introductions, being paraded around this giant 2.5-mile track before the fans that will watch them race 400 miles today. As we dig into some of the nuances of today's race, let's talk about car keys. Not the things you start your car with, but things you need to have right to handle this demanding track. For that, we go to our Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer. Tim?
Alan, everything at Indy has to be very, very perfect. Even this small amount of tape right here. It's been hot the last few days. So when we put this tape on here, what does that do? It affects the straightaway speed because it lowers the drag. It also affects the balance of the car, more downforce in the corner. But by putting this tape up there, we run the water temperature a little bit higher, affecting horsepower. But it has to be perfect every time if you're going to have the horsepower, the drag, and the balance to help you win the race here in Indianapolis.
Little things mean a lot. Thank you, Mr. Brewer. Appreciate it. Let's dig into more of what to watch for today. Talk about some things to keep an eye on as the race progresses. Champion Crew Chief Ray, tires, strategy, tire fall-off, late race strategy. What are we going to see?
All those things. Goodyear brought a good tire. It's doing its job, but it drops off about a second after 10 laps. So I think late race caution, even inside of 5 laps, the guys are going to pit for tires. Track position is very important, so you'll see some guys taking 2 tires tires. Some guys taking 4 tires.